Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to the Toronto Raptors 118-113 win against the Sacramento Kings. Ryker, it was a tough battle all the way, but down the stretch the Raptors were able to pull it out, and our starters really carried us in this game today.
Ben, I was thinking three things approaching the final 2-3 minutes of this game. One, wow, Norman Powell is really coming into his own. This guy is on an absolute tear, and he's looking like he's well worth the money that we paid him. He's looking like even he might be worth a contract extension, Ben, but that's a full other story. Him and Lowry, they were unstoppable from the distance tonight, beyond three. That was impressive. Two was I feel like I choked on my words a little bit. Our most recent podcast, we had the argument for who should be the eighth man come playoff time, and I said Matty T has to be the guy that's out there, but it was an unimpressive performance from all of our bench guys, but we can break that down a little bit. And then finally, Ben, we'll talk about this first. I was thinking, but this is before Pascal Siakam took over. I thought, wow, he needs to take over. Simply put, He needs to do it. And he went out there and did it, Ben.
Yeah, well, certainly there's a lot of things to talk about in this game today. The Sacramento Kings, they've been on a complete roll. They've been on a tear since the All-Star break, so it's a really solid win despite the record of the Sacramento Kings to get this W. They're fighting for the 8th seed in the Western Conference, but let's just start with the guys that really kept us in this game the whole way. I'll talk about Norman Powell first. I was actually looking at his stats on Basketball Reference. He's averaging like 20.1 points per game since in all of 2020. I know he's missed some games due to injuries and all that sort of stuff, but he's been consistently just our flat-out scorer for the Toronto Raptors. Tonight, 31 points for Norman Powell, back-to-back 30-point games. I believe so. I don't even remember if it was the last game or the game before, but 31 points, five assists. He was passing really well, got 2 steals, 6 of 12 from the three-point line, Ryker, 11 of 21 from the field. Norm, he slashes, he hits jumpers, he knocks down his open shots. I can't really ask of much more from Norman Powell the way he's been playing as of late.
IQ, Ben. It's IQ. You see this guy, he's making the right decisions because we know from our entire time of watching Norman Powell as a Toronto Raptor basketball player, we know the athleticism that he's able to provide. We know he has solid jump shot mechanics. We know his speed, right? We know that he can do these things, but he has just now found his rhythm of when should I be out, when should I be a slasher? When should I drive? When can I beat my man off the dribble and finish in the lane, right? His IQ has been unreal since coming back from injury, Ben.
Most definitely, and it's the IQ plus the confidence, because Norm has always, when he's in a rhythm, when he's in sort of a groove, he's always been good at picking his spots. But when shots aren't going down from Norm in the past, we've seen him go through slumps for months at a time, it seems like, especially in the 2017 season, 2018. But now, even tonight, there was a stretch where he missed like 3 or 4 straight jumpers, and he just knows when to slash, get his game going, and the explosiveness, I've been saying it, living on Norm Island, he's got all the intangibles to be a top-tier scorer in this league, and he's really surpassing everyone's expectations this year. So shout out to Norman Powell, shout out to the consistency he's been bringing, but our leader, our guy that's been doing it for us for, it seems like ever now, Kyle Lowry. 30 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds, 10 of 15 from the field, 6 of 10 from the three-point line. He seemed to get us a bucket whenever we need it, 3 steals on top of it. Kyle Lowry, this season, he's gone back, and we've been talking about when Kyle Lowry is slashing and looking to get his offense going by going to the rim rather than just chucking up threes when they aren't going down. He's just such a well-rounded point guard, such a well-rounded offensive presence. We know what he can do no matter when he's on the court. He'll always get the charges. He'll always be a leader and all that sort of stuff. But we're looking at a 2016-esque Kyle Lowry this season, the way he's getting his offense going and just really bringing it on both ends of the court.
Well, Ben, tonight they were going down, his threes. It seemed like every shot that he took, it was going down, but he was still attacking, relentless, and going up against big guys. Rashawn Holmes, Alex Len, he was finishing contact layups tonight. And, Ben, what impressed me the most about this game is, and because we're going to give a lot of credit now to Pascal Siakam down the stretch. Like I said, he took over. He definitely did. All credit to him. But we were trailing a lot this game. We were going down. There was 2 stretches or maybe 3 stretches of 4 to 5 minutes, 2 separate times where the Raptors scored 0 points, and we would go down, it would be a slump, and then Kyle Lowry would come out and hit 2 threes, or he'd go in, drive in the lane. This is the Kyle Lowry that you want to bring into the playoffs, Ben, where he has this absurd confidence, and he has a good mix of attacking, putting the pressure on the defense, and then also hitting the 3, which he has the ability to do most of the time.
Yep, and when he's slashing, his playmaking is even more elevated because he's getting in the rim, getting the lane, the defense collapses, and then he can kick it out to three-point shooters, and the threes were raining for the Toronto Raptors tonight. But you brought it up, Pascal Siakam. Looked like from the eye test he was struggling for most of this game. His threes weren't really going in. It was one of those games where we've seen Pascal Siakam just struggle to get his game going. The Kings had a strong defensive scheme. I know they drew a couple charges on him on a spin move, so they were game planning for Pascal Siakam. And down the stretch of this one, we really needed someone to take over. Norm and Lowry, the defense was just completely focused on them. And then Pascal Siakam, I believe he scored our last 9 points, it felt like, and then
8,
Norm hit a couple free throws.
Yep.
And he slashed, he got a couple layups, he knocked down a nice step back 3 after fumbling the ball a little bit. But this is what we've been needing for Pascal Siakam to beat the top tier teams in this league. And we need Pascal Siakam, whether his game is going or not, whether he's cooking like he was in Phoenix or he's struggling like he was against the Warriors. We need him to be able to take the ball down the stretch, and we saw it the last couple possessions against the Warriors too, and be able to get us a bucket when it's crunch time. Be able to take on 1 or 2 defenders and score to turn a 1-point game into a 3-point game. And down the stretch, be reliable. And he did that tonight, which I'm really just happy to see.
Yeah, and not by shooting threes. I'm a firm believer he's taking too many threes, Ben, as of late. He's really settling, and because he gets into phases where he's hitting a lot of threes, so I think that's bringing up his confidence, but he needs to be an attack-first player. I think he needs to be that Giannis-type player most of the time when you have obvious mismatches, when you're faster than your defender, when you're quicker than him, when your ball handling can get you to the rim, and that's what he did. He hit a crazy 3, Ben, one of the most contested threes that he's probably made this entire season, but then he closed out the game by just going strong to the net and finishing some really solid layups, Ben, and that's what we're going to need come playoff time when, the team is not shooting as well from 3, the defense clamps in. Pascal Siakam is going to be able to get those looks if he's aggressive, beats his man, and gets deep into the lane. He's going to be able to get those layups. He just needs to have that attack first mentality.
Most definitely. It was great to see Siakam close it out. Our other 2 stars, OG Anunoby, 12 points, had a stretch there where he was hitting some shots, got us out of one of those slumps that the Raptors were in, but 12 points, 2 rebounds, just some solid defense all around, 2 of 3 from the 3-point line, just a solid OG Anunoby game, and Serge Ibaka, 15 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, filled up the box score, 2 blocks. The starters were really good in this game, and tonight we thought we might get an added boost from our bench as the guy that really was our defensive anchor and the guy that our offense really flowed through most of the beginning of the season, a lot of the end of last year. Marc Gasol, he came back tonight, obviously after being out for a long extended period of time. Being an older player, it's going to take him a few games to get back in the swing of things, but we saw Serge Ibaka with the start, Marc Gasol coming off the bench. Ryker, is this something we're going to see going forward? And especially, Ibaka's been really good at just getting us buckets consistently off the bench. And Gasol isn't really as much of a bucket getter as Ibaka, but does a lot of the other things. Do you like this dynamic with Serge starting and Gasol coming off the bench, or is this something that will get flipped back to normal going forward?
I'd say we'll see Ibaka come off the bench when Gasol starts getting more comfortable. That's the hypothesis that I have because we haven't been great at rebounding lately, and tonight was no different. We got out-rebounded by 15 points, and it was 3-point shooting that kept the Raptors alive here tonight and was really the only reason that they were able to win this game because they were able to stay close, keep weathering the storm. Got completely out-rebounded, so that's what I think is one of the most valuable pieces is because we had that one game where Rondae Hollis-Jefferson was our starting center, and Ibaka's been playing really great, but I think he is an asset coming off the bench, more so than as a starter. But we'll see because Nick Nurse loves to throw crazy mixes of different lineups, so... Who knows?
Yeah, and Norman Powell's infusion of scoring when Fred VanVleet comes back off the bench might aid in that. So it's going to be interesting to see. Both, you can't really go wrong with Serge Ibaka or Marc Gasol. Obviously, Gasol, it's going to take a while to get him back, so we're not going to blame the bench woes or anything at all on Gasol.
And
but
Ben,
just
what do you
nice
think?
to see him back in the lineup.
What do you think, Ben? It's not really once you play 8-man rotation, starter, bench. It doesn't really mean anything because you're probably going to play equal minutes for bigs anyways, or you're just going to play the guy who's performing best against the matchup, right?
Yeah, most definitely. So, and we've seen Serge and Gasol, they're veterans. They know their role with this team. They know they're valuable. They probably don't care where they're coming off from. But we've talked about the 8-man rotation, and we I guess we could save the bench to the segments, but there's one thing that we're looking at. We talked about McCaw, Davis, and Matt Thomas, and we'll talk about them for one of the obvious segments. But Rondae Hollis-Jefferson came in, 0 points. Really, he didn't take any shots, but he was dribbling a lot in the posts, kicking it out. Looked a bit chaotic out there on the court. One guy that's been our backup kind of power forward, so to speak, over the past couple games, few games now with Marc Gasol out, Chris Boucher, he's had a lot of strong performances, and I think has objectively played better than Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, especially since January, it feels like. And when we have that 2-center lineup, it seems like Boucher is the one getting pushed out. Rondae only got 6 minutes of action tonight. Do you think we'll see more Boucher maybe over Rondae going forward?
I'd kind of hope so, honestly, because he is a more impactful player given he can shoot the three. I don't know how much he's really convincing the defense or the opponents of that yet, but he has shown in flashes that he has the ability to shoot, which is more of an asset than Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, and his motor has been better as of late, so I was surprised that. But if you look at the plus-minus here tonight, our bench, just all of them, they just sucked. They were flaming garbage, Ben, and that's the reason that they only played limited minutes. Even Terrence Davis, Matt Thomas, they were getting scored on. The defense, it was sporadic. It's exactly what you said. So I'm hoping that we're going to see, regardless if we're playing Chris Boucher or we're playing Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, I hope we see more of a spark come from the bench. Because I think the amount of points that they scored was it almost destroyed the chance at a victory here tonight.
Yeah, for sure. But we can talk about that more in the segments. But let's swing right into it. Tonight, the spicy P-lay of the day. I know you have a one or two in mind, Riker. Just take it away.
Ben, a lot of dunks. Started the game with a nice Norman Powell dunk, and I can't remember who he beat. But he had another one in the fourth quarter as well where he turned the corner. He got around his man. Another strong dunk in the lane. Norman Powell, he was just doing great tonight. And, like you said, you've been on the only guy on Norm Island for a long time, but I think people are probably joining you, right? You said they're coming in flocks, and tonight, no different. Another fantastic showing from Norman Powell.
I feel that the Docs are welcoming Raptor fans to join and stay on Norm Island. We want people here rooting for this guy. Shout out Norm God. If you're having performances like that, you got to be getting the spicy P-lay of the day. But not all plays can be the spicy P-lay of the day, and some just make you say, oh, geez, Riker. And tonight, the OG's play of the day. Matt Thomas, he came into the game. The bench was struggling scoring the ball, and if there's one thing we know Matt Thomas can do, it's score via the three-point shooting. Mr. 99%. He's had a lot of phenomenal games. You've been super high on Matt Thomas. You've been on the Matt Thomas Island, but I think a lot of people are there. A lot of people want to see him get more minutes. But tonight, he struggles getting open at times, and you rarely see Matt Thomas get an open shot. He shot one and ended up getting blocked by Rashard Holmes, and that's not getting the OGs. But then the ball ended up coming back to him. I don't know if it was the same possession or a possession later where he was completely open in the corner. Mr. 99% on open three-point shots. Open in the corner, Riker. No one around him. Let it fly. Popped in and out, but Matt Thomas can't be missing open threes. Whenever he misses a completely open corner three at that, definitely going to make me say, oh, geez, watching the game, Riker.
Yeah, and that wasn't the reason that he didn't play a lot, Ben. His defense just was not good tonight. I believe he had 2 fouls right away in back-to-back possessions. They
were going at him.
Yeah, and he did a switch, and I think it was on to Harrison Barnes. And this is what made me swallow my words, Ben. And when we posted the podcast, a lot of people, the majority of the comments, and maybe the listeners that didn't comment are on our Team McCaw, but almost all of the comments said Patrick McCaw is unplayable in the playoff time, which is very contradictory to what Your argument was people were agreeing with me. Matt Thomas should be the guy, but he switched on to Harrison Barnes and face guarded him for some reason, I don't know, but got on his hip, but behind. So then it was just an easy cut for Harrison Barnes. He just cut right into the middle of the lane. The help didn't realize they were there because you're not expecting somebody to get beat. It wasn't even a backdoor cut. It's literally he just let his man. He got on his back, right? That to me is just the most boneheaded defensive possession that I've witnessed. And I said, yeah. Ben, your point about at least, Patrick McCaw does the intangible things. He knows how to defend. He knows how to play. You probably do need that come playoff time, Ben. I was disappointed to have to agree with you there, but wasn't Matt Thomas's night, that's for sure.
Most definitely. Well, we've already kind of segued into it. Tonight, the Damario Gold Star Award. We've been talking about it now, it seems like the past 5-6 minutes. The bench, we alluded to Rondae Hollis-Jefferson a lot, Matt Thomas, but really no one played well. We made the video on the three guys, Matt Thomas, Terrence Davis, Patrick McCaw. All of them really struggled tonight. Matt Thomas, we've been talking about, sort of has the highest, I think, potential to really explode in some games, maybe come playoff time, but the questions about defense and the other sorts of things on the offensive end are still there. We haven't really seen a great sample size of Matt Thomas, so tonight wasn't a positive sort of node in the Matt Thomas graph of games. So we'll see if he can pick that up, because he has shown flashes of being a good defender, a lot better than expected. So that's still an unknown there. We're not going to completely write him off because of one performance. Terrence Davis, we brought it up. We both kind of agreed. TD has been the best out of these guys seemingly this year, but he has a lot of ups and downs and inconsistencies. You don't really want those in the playoffs. That's why T. Ross, we saw him get benched a lot in the playoff time. When you're inconsistent, it's just really tough to play during the most important of games, because if you're having a low and you end up losing 2 games because your 8th man is struggling to even put in a layup or something, then that's tough. So we're going to need to see some more consistency from TD. But the guy that I kind of said was most likely to get minutes in the playoffs, not necessarily the ideal bet, but I think is the most likely because he's been pretty consistent with what he can do throughout the year. Patrick McCaw, he's a solid defender. He knows how to play offense. He can pass. He can shoot it reliably consistent. But tonight, again, really just he had the worst plus-minus for the game. Really wasn't defending at a really high level. Wasn't making good decisions. All 3 of those guys, Ryker, tonight, it was just a tough watch for the bench unit.
Ben, did you say a positive node in the Matt Thomas graph?
Yeah,
I've been doing a machine learning assignment
for the past 12 hours, so I'm
Your computer science shone through, but it's true. I think the bench will turn around. There's lots more of the Raptors to be seen. And to conclude this podcast, Ben, unless you have other things to mention, things in NBA land have been going really well for the Toronto Raptors lately. We've seen the Bucks now lose 2 games in a row, I believe. Giannis is going to be out for a game or 2 now. Boston's dropped 2 games in a row. Miami lost a game. Kawhi Leonard lost in the Western Conference against LeBron. Not a huge LeBron guy, but I just don't want to see Kawhi win. If you're a Pelicans fan, all the teams that they're competing to make the playoffs with, they're all losing. It's the NBA scene. It's going well for the Toronto Raptors specifically. We're getting closer to the number 1 seed, and we're making that gap between the third. So it's looking good.
Yeah, the big thing, it'll be tough to catch the Bucks, and you brought up Giannis is going to be out for a little bit. Obviously, we want Giannis healthy. It would suck to have to play in the playoffs and not have Giannis there to watch. You want to beat them fair and square, but it might catch some ground up on that with him being out with injury. But the Celtics are the team we really want to stay away from. Not having to play the Sixers or the Pacers in the first round would be a huge plus for the Toronto Raptors. Playing the Nets or Magic, I think, would be a nice warm-up to the big series in the second round, even though it's still the playoffs, so you have to take it seriously. But if we can create that gap between the Celtics, stay at that second, maybe potentially first seed, that's the ideal situation for the Raptors.
Yeah, absolutely, Ben. So it's looking good. And the Raptors, they don't have the easiest schedule to finish off the season. I think we play the Bucks at least 2 more times, so we have a few challenging games. So it's nice that, on games that the Celtics maybe shouldn't lose, they're dropping, so at least we have a little bit of a buffer if we have a tough matchup that we don't win.
Most definitely. But you guys are the best for making this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. as Riker said, lots of things going well in Raptors land right now. It looked a little bit sketchy there last week when we had that 3-game losing streak, but back on track now. We're getting players back into the fold. Marc Gasol's back in the lineup. Fred VanVleet's supposed to be coming back soon. So, exciting times, Riker.
Exciting times, man. All right, cheers.